I've seen this one before. I guess that's a headlight of some sort. A makeshift headlight. When you want to go driving around in this thing. Burn some rubber. Coming up on the sunny side free book thing. Everything here is free. I don't think I've taken anything from this. This is at Skillman Avenue. And I'm not sure what street number this is. I'll get it. Man repeller. I just ended something with somebody you could describe as that. She was a piece of work. Calvin Klein. He was the subject of a classic payphone photo, or a phone booth photo. It's a picture of him with a paper bag with, I think, like $100,000 cash in it. And he was told to, I guess, meet these guys who kidnapped his daughter. Told him to, I think, either leave the money there or meet them there or something. And somehow the paparazzi got wind of this. Find that on my website. I've met like lifelong New Yorkers who never heard about that incident. Not that the phone booth wasn't a big part of it, but just the fact that Calvin Klein's daughter got kidnapped for ransom. Certain landscapes were emotionally arousing. I think I might just take this. What's this? News clipping. Will they take his hose? I would take this. I don't really have anywhere to carry it. My bag is stuffed. I'm not going to take it. I don't need any more books. A lot of people get sentimental about them. I think they're just musty, stinky old things. This is the so-called Boulevard of Death. And it's not because of the cemetery here. And really, I think that that nickname applies more to the Forest Hills area, where there's a lot more people that cross the street, and a lot of people have been run down. I honestly didn't come out here today for the cemetery. I came out here today for the planes. I was really into this, I'd go out to Flushing. So that's where they're headed. I mean, they're going to LaGuardia, but from Flushing, Main Street area, that's where you can see the whites in their eyes, so to speak, the passengers, because the planes are so low by now. Can't really see that here. So my job has me talking on the phone to a lot. It's kind of a job made for me in that respect, as someone who's basically spent his whole life on the phone, keeping the world at a discreet distance, as somebody once commented about me. That was somebody on the old apology line who hadn't called in a while, and she asked, how I was doing. And she asked, I wonder if he's still keeping the world at a discreet distance from behind the telephone. But I talk to just random people all day who call in to lay out their little agonies and their little problems. It's kind of changed the way I think about my own problems in a strange way. And it can get pretty personal with some of these people. But as I expected, this happens not quite every day, but it happens a few times a week. Someone will make a comment about my voice. It's been happening since day one. I guess I expected that because, I know I've been getting comments about it my whole life since I was 13 when it changed. One person will say it's a radio voice and that I could make a lot of money at that. And I'm like, yeah, right. There's big money in radio, right? I do want to do radio someday professionally. That was supposed to be my career path out of college, but I'm glad it wasn't. Because the world of commercial radio back in the 90s would have just chewed me up and spit me out. All that's changed, of course. Radio is unrecognizable today from its previous... the old style radio is still there, of course, but the world of radio has expanded in so many different directions that would have been hard to imagine in the 90s. But yeah, one person will say I have a radio voice, someone else will say I have a sexy voice. And it's satisfying for me to do something with this little gift, if I can call it that. Something besides phone sex, which I'm always happy to engage in, but I've never done it professionally. You might be surprised how many people have told me I should. Or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, I don't know. But one guy said, your voice, it's like basso profundo. And I sensed some musical literacy from this dude, so I immediately, I go, tuba, miram, bum, bum, bum. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. I thought he was going to cough up a lung. He was laughing so hard. I don't think I'm a basso profundo, and I was probably a little flat on that bottom note. But that, of course, is the famous opening of the Mozart Tuba Mirum from the Requiem Mass, his only Requiem. That's a trivia question for you, by the way. How many Requiems did Mozart write? Just one. And I don't know about anybody else, but I always found that opening to be comical. Just because it's followed by this really fat, wet trombone solo. It's like probably one of the most famous trombone solos in the literature. Oh, I'm not going this way. There's a service going on. Yeah. And there's a fire truck there, which suggests it was a firefighter. I hadn't heard about any firefighters dying in action recently, but must have been retired or something. But it was satisfying to connect with that random guy, because he says basso profundo, and that's like the deepest voice, and I'm not bad, but when I sensed that little glimmer of musical literacy, I was there with the ultimate punchline. I read an article by a woman who, speaking of being on the phone all day, I read an article written by a woman who, if I remember right, she volunteered to be on some kind of counseling hotline or something. This was during COVID. And she said she just wanted to do something positive if she could. And so she either volunteered or got paid very little to do this, to just talk to people and, talk about the world that we were living through. So she wrote this somewhat breathless account about this one conversation where everything seemed normal, and the dude was like sort of trailing off a little bit. And then she had this shocking moment of revelation. She's like, he was masturbating. And I read that, and I'm like, who cares? It's a natural thing to do. The voice is an erotic instrument. The imagination is where most sex happens, at least for some people. It's in the mind. I don't know. I like this view to the Empire State Building. It's like it's one of the tombstones. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could line it up to make it look like that. Like this, for instance. I guess this is as appropriate a place as any to talk about a mass for the dead, right? That's what a requiem is. But before I encountered that service in progress, I was going to say that I was just always thought the opening of the Tuba Mirum was a joke. And maybe not intentionally a joke. I just thought it was this fat, pasty sound that I just could never take it seriously. It was like a parody of itself. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else I remember about Mozart's Requiem. In school, we would refer to it as his rectum ass. Because that's just how mature we were. His rectum ass. There were other sort of tawdry nicknames for other works, I think, like the Harianos Suite. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. I can only ever pronounce it Harry Anus. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just what it is. And we had funny nicknames for the Carl Nielsen symphonies. Like, the real nicknames are like the Inextinguishable, I think, is one of them, but we would call them like the Indistinguishable or the Inexcusable. There's a little conservatory humor for you. I'd step inside the bathroom at New Calvary. This is the only men's room that's ever open, and the women's room next to it is, I guess, also open. I don't know. Any port in a storm, right? They take pretty good care of them. Yeah, the older I get, the more I have not only do I have a radio voice, but the older I get, the more I have a face for radio. A radio face. It's an old joke. An old radio joke. Look at the pin I'm wearing. Talk about Schroeder. I never understood how he never made it onto any of those lists of great pianists of the 20th century. I mean, he played all the repertoire from Bach up to, I guess, probably closest thing to contemporary I can remember him doing was Dvorak, the Slavonic dances. But he played all the repertoire. And he played it using only 4 fingers, didn't use his thumbs, and he did it on a piano where the black keys were only just painted on. I mean, how many pianists of the 20th century, or any time, how many can say that? These trucks are idling here, that's illegal. And there's actually a bounty program the city has now, where if you can prove beyond a doubt that they were idling, and you can demonstrate exactly where they were and license info and all that shit, you can actually make you're not going to get rich, but it'll be worth your time. God, it smells like gas over here. It really does. It's nasty. So I came over here to look at my D-Tex watch clock station. See if that's the remains of a Saraji.com card. stay, but I'll leave it anyway. There was a piece in the Times about the bounty hunting program where there's one guy, a retiree, spends all his days doing that, and he made something like $45,000 or $50,000. I'm not going to be surprised if I get a quick headache on account of the noxious exhaust fumes I was just surrounded by. That was nasty. By the way, that book thing, the free book stuff, I think I forgot to say that's at 43rd Street in Skillman, if you're looking for it. Everything is free, I think. I guess I'll go over through Calvary, Old Calvary, see if the chapel's open yet. I don't think it will be. Now, on weekends, this is a pretty quiet area. This is, I don't know what street this is, but you have to walk a fair distance to get from New Calvary to Old, and this is a source of confusion for a lot of people. They might be looking for somebody in Section 8, but when they get on that internet thing, all the mapping apps tell them that Calvary is located on Laurel Hill Boulevard. So they go over that way. But that's just because the administrative offices are there. Old Calvary doesn't seem to have an actual physical address. I mean, it does, but you never see it in any directory type of resource. So the reason I know it's confusing to people is many a time I've been rolling through New Calvary and somebody in a car asks me, like, where the hell is Section 8? Or where the hell is Section 4? And I have to explain to them that the two Calvaries are physically separated by, I don't know, probably about a mile. I don't know. Depends which route you take. And you think somebody would have done something to clear this up by now, but it doesn't seem to have happened. And it goes both ways. I was at Old Calvary once when somebody was looking for section, or I think it was 18. And I got to explain it to him, but in reverse, that you came to Old Calvary when you should have gone to New. And I could make that my cross to bear. I could make that my cause in life to clarify this issue, but it gives me a chance to be helpful to people. It gives me a chance to set them in the right direction. So this is West Maspeth. Still some houses, but mostly industrial stuff. That's a lot of pots. Maybe a potter lives here. This area does stay pretty busy during the week, with big, huge trucks barreling past at 400 miles an hour. I have to have gotten a shot of this before. The dead end sign with some... I They're not honking at me. The dead end sign with the tombstones behind it. Too easy, right? And appropriately enough, my battery is about to die. I always wonder how something like this happens, because that's located in a spot where no truck or something like that would be able to strike it, you know, with like a tall mirror or anything. But I think I might have an answer for this one. I bet you somebody threw this big hunk of coal at it, or black rock, whatever the hell that is. Somebody really had an issue with 56th Road. Because if you sort of step back, you see there's no way a vehicle could have easily hit this, even by accident. I don't know. What do I know? But my guess is that this is the culprit. There, of course, is the new Kosciuszko. I'm not going to go up there today, but I've done a few walkovers, and compared to other bridges around here, it really does feel like solid ground. There must have been some vibrations when huge trucks rolled by, but it really felt pretty solid. An impressive structure. With Old Calvary. Old Calvary beckons.
She's like, can you take my shirt?
I just want to see if the chapel's open yet. I signed up for their newsletter, where it was implied that they might announce something about that, something about the chapel. At some point they might announce it, but nothing's happened. Look at these squiggly things. I don't remember this. I wonder what that's all about. Seriously. Somebody went nuts with the... what do you call it? The painting machine. Will it be open? I really don't think so. The announcement they might have made wouldn't have been specifically that the chapel was open, but that they were going to start doing the Saturday field masses again. But there was no indication of whether that meant they would resume opening the chapel during all the other days of the week like they used to. The entrance is not unimpressive for such a small chapel. God locked me out again. I saw this sign on the ground. I want to see what this is. There's some guerrilla advertising for you. What a bargain. They started putting these signs in, I guess it was during early COVID. At least that's when I first spotted them. And I think they've put them pretty much everywhere by now. The old street names from that you only ever would see on the really old maps, like the maps from the 1880s and 1890s. I wonder if they put up a sign for the Valley of the Mausoleums, as it used to be called, and I might as well swing by there. Somebody from the Johnston clan, a descendant of John Johnston, commented on one of my videos that he's just to say that he's a descendant. That's cool. A lot of mixed information about the Johnstons from early reporting, enough to make you ask what really was truthful about the coverage. I mean, I think there was the Times obituary said that although all the Johnstons died as bachelors, but that's obviously not true if there are living descendants. That's a cool shot. Decapitated sculpture with 432 Park in the back. I just stopped recording that last plane because I noticed that somebody who wanted to drive past was waiting for me to, I don't know, finish what I was doing or snap out of my concentration. Or maybe he just didn't want to cross my path. So I'll just take a look at the Johnston and maybe swing by the Godfather burial site, and then make my favorite exit through this place, which is up section 1. Feels like the heartland of Calvary, but I'll get to that in a minute. As I said to the Johnston descendant who commented on my video, I just did not recognize this thing after they cleaned it up. It is starting to look like it's collecting some dirt again, though. And the early likenesses, the early illustrations of this thing made it look filthy filthy over 100 years ago. So maybe this is just going to quickly return to its pigpen state. I don't know. because it is starting to show some accumulation already. Look at the top part. Of course, I don't remember now if that part was completely clean after they finished, but well, yes, this is the Valley of the Mausoleums, but I don't think they put up a sign to that effect. You get Cathedral Avenue, though. I'm sitting on a set of stairs here next to one of the mausoleums. This is where, in the past, with the old bridge, the old Kosciuszko, if you sat here and really opened your ears to it, opened your mind, you could hear sounds of traffic and sounds of the bridge itself echoing off of these tombstones. And it was unmistakable. The bridge itself used to be, the old bridge was loud and noisy and scary in that respect. But I remember sitting here and I'd hear car radios echoing off of these tombstones. I remember once I heard John Sterling's voice covering a Yankee game for just like, a flick of a second. And I'd hear other car horns mostly, or traffic noises. I can still kind of hear a hum. But that's always been here. The hum of traffic of the BQE and the LIE. I mean, it's amazing how much quieter it is inside the grounds compared to outside, but still you can't escape that eternal din of noise. But it's not as active here as it used to be with the old bridge. The noises don't echo like they used to. This is where the Godfather scene was filmed. The Godfather funeral scene. And if you've ever clicked through my play-by-play recreation of that scene, you'll know that pinpointing the location revolved around this marker, the daily marker. And when you see it in the film, the fictional scene, the fictional burial site was like here, I guess. And I don't know who's really buried there, of course, but somebody is. But when you see it in the film, the camera is positioned over here, looking more or less this direction. I mean, more or less at this angle. But the daily name on top of this tombstone is facing this way. When you see it in the film, today the daily name is facing this way. But when you look closely, you can see that the top thing on here somehow got dislodged. Because it doesn't look like it's physically connected. So it's pretty obvious to me that the top of this daily marker got knocked off. Groundskeepers put it back up, but they put it back the wrong way. And that's why it looks different today than it does in the movie. And I just love how the Daly name, the Daly family, this probably, beautiful but unremarkable in historical context, they just rise up from obscurity to take a place in one of the most famous films ever made. Anyway, this is my favorite exit. My favorite exit route through the heartland. Climb up this hill. And I think I'm going to see a tombstone for a teacher, as I usually do. And I like that they haven't cut the grass. I mean, it's not too overgrown. It does get obnoxious when they wait too long, but... Well, maybe I won't see the teacher tombstone. I don't always take the exact same steps. And then the skyline starts to rise up. The Manhattan skyline. Intertwining with the tombstones. Intermingling. Becoming them. Becoming one with the cemetery. This is section 8. This is where I had one of my more memorable experiences as a forensic genealogist. That's when I used to come out here and take pictures of tombstones for people usually from far away, who wanted to get pictures of their ancestors or their forebears' tombstones, and they didn't want to spend thousands of dollars getting here and back. So this one day I was late, or was getting late, and I was trying to find something out here in section 8. So I was kind of running. I wasn't sprinting or anything, but I was moving quicker than usual. And all I'm going to say is I came no less than 6 inches from falling into an open grave. And I was looking down into it. There was, I could smell the dirt, like it was that freshly dug. And there was a stack of coffins from earlier burials. And I quickly realized that I was standing at the site of a funeral service that was about to occur. And I think I looked over toward the street over there and I saw the procession. And what a scene that would have been if I'd fallen in. And this grieving entourage shows up and they see this asshole sitting in the spot where they're about to bury their beloved. Imagine that 911 call. Operator, you're not going to believe where I am right now. Anyway, I'll just leave it here. With the skyscrapers mingling with the tombs. This is Borden Avenue. I don't usually take this route going back, and now that I'm doing it, I don't know why that is, because the route that I usually take is a lot less safe than this. I think about that skyline intertwining with the tombs, and sometimes I think one day they will all be the same. They will all be the same. This empire cannot last. Also just wanted to mention, just for my own sanity, that I'm really glad I can still do this. I didn't tell anybody, but I was experiencing serious foot pain for a while. I mean, like I'd be just groaning in pain just walking anywhere. And all I can say is, I think I wore my old shoes down to the bloody nub, and that's not a good thing. I still feel a little bit of a leftover from all that, but I think I'll be fine. So you think I'm going to be able to cross here? I think I got lucky because this barrage of traffic wasn't going to wait for me. I just got lucky crossing here. During the week, this is one of these red lights here that everybody ignores. Gotta keep your head on a swivel. I think I'll take a more interesting street. Van Dam is pretty blah. At least in this portion, that portion. Listener from who called in from one of those Link machines, Link NYC. I think that makes like 4 or 5. And I was telling my friend about this. It's like, for this type of guerrilla advertising, if you get 4 or 5 people to check in, that's pretty damn good. Yeah, this isn't the more interesting street that I was thinking of. Don't scare me, pigeon. I'm not sure what I was thinking about this being a more interesting stretch of road, but this pigeon is buzzing me. Of course, I wasn't even thinking of this, but here it is, my favorite thing in the world now. My new favorite thing in New York is the Link 5G skyscraper. Looks like a COVID test swab. And they're going to be putting these everywhere. This is just a test model, so I don't think... the Wi-Fi is on, and it was fast as hell last time I was here. But nothing else works on this as far as I know. But they're just testing the 5G capabilities or something. I don't know what this is about. But these monsters are going to be everywhere, whether you like them or not. Like I said, I visited these, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, or this rather. This is the only one in town as far as I know. But these make the Link NYC kiosks look like toothpicks. And this doesn't even have the ad panels on it. They're supposed to be these really, from the prototypes that I saw, the ad panels looked really janky and weird. What can you do? This is progress, right? And I almost forgot. This one's so big it deserves 2 helpings. That's going to irritate the fuck out of somebody. But it's easy to pluck off. It's not sticky. saw these from the sidewalk, I thought these were all bullets. I thought somebody dumped a bunch of artillery on the side on the road. These are familiar, but I'm not counting what these are.